Now this game isn't quite how I want it to be, so I need to do some editing on it. First thing, if I go back to this, if I go back to the vision I had of the game, which is the Pac-Man, the game is actually not a standard way round. It's actually a slightly odd way round, because television screens, video screens, you normally think of as being wider than they are tall. The Pac-Man's the other way around. I'm sure when the original arcade games were built, there's a reason why Pac-Man is this way round. But if that's what we're going to do, that's what we're going to do. So at the moment, so what I want to do here is make this game a little bit longer. And I click onto settings, and at the moment the width is 640 and the height is 480. That's 640 pixels and 480 pixels. And we'll come back in a bit to exactly what pixels are. They're a measure of the size of things on computer screens. So I think I'm going to try that with 720. And that looks more like the shape I'd expect to see the Pac-Man game to be. So I've changed my room size to 640 wide to 720 tall. Next thing I need to change is clearly my Pac-Man is a little bit too big. Well, up here it tells me that each of the small squares, each of these, is 16 pixels wide. So that's 1, 2, so on all the way across there. If I count those number of squares and multiply it by 16, I should get 640. Likewise if I go down. So the space is chopped up into squares of 16. So what I need to do next is decide how many squares I want my Pac-Man to be. Now obviously I have every choice from 1 square to 4 squares to 9 squares. We want the Pac-Man to basically be a square shape. Now looking at the original game, the Pac-Man is quite small on the screen. You want to sort of have plenty of room to play the game. I think 9 squares looks like a good size, so I think I'm going to try 9, though I might change my mind and go back to 4 squares. So I need to go to my sprite and double click on it, and again, to change what something looks like is edit, and in transform, which is change, I want to stretch. Even though we're making it smaller, the instruction is still stretch. So 9 squares would be 3 by 3. 3 times 16 is 16, 32, 48. So I want it to be 48 wide. I also want it to be 48 tall. Now when I change that one changes. That's because I've got the aspect ratio locked. In other words, when I change one, it automatically changes the other. Well, actually I want to change both of them. So I'm going to make that 48 as well. I'm going to click OK. Click OK on there. And click OK again. And then I look at my game. And so that Pac-Man is now taking up 9 squares. So 3 by 3. So it's taking up a space of 9 squares. And I think that looks around about the right sort of kind of size for my game. So I'm going to leave that the size it is. So I've now got my room the size I want it to be, and my Pac-Man about the size I want him to be. So what I want to do next is get my Pac-Man to be able to move around this space, and then of course build a maze that he can then move around instead.